The crowd inside Dodger Stadium was still buzzing long after the final out. The Los Angeles Dodgers had just defeated the Colorado Rockies 5-3 in another dramatic night of baseball, and thousands of fans slowly poured out of the stadium carrying the energy of the game into the streets of Los Angeles. But while most people believed the biggest moments of the evening were already over, something unforgettable was quietly happening behind closed doors inside one of the stadium's VIP lounges. For Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, the night already felt unreal. Earlier that evening, the world-famous Japanese figure skating pair had stepped onto a Major League Baseball field for the very first time to perform a ceremonial first pitch, unlike anything Dodgers fans had ever seen before. Instead of a normal throw, Miura and Kihara incorporated one of their signature skating-style lifts into the ceremony, stunning the crowd with a performance that blended elegance, athleticism, and trust. The stadium erupted the moment Miura released the baseball while being lifted into the air by Kihara. Cameras flashed from every direction, fans roared in excitement, and even longtime baseball reporters admitted afterward that it was one of the most unique ceremonial first pitches they had ever witnessed. But despite the overwhelming reaction from the crowd, there was one small thing Kihara quietly regretted. He never got to watch Shohei Ohtani during his famous pregame warm-up routine. At first, it sounded insignificant. After all, the pair had already experienced a dream evening. They had stood on the field at Dodger Stadium, performed in front of thousands of fans, and represented Japan on one of the biggest stages in sports. But for Kihara, there was still a tiny sense of disappointment lingering in the back of his mind. Moments after the ceremony ended, Kihara approached Dodgers manager Dave Roberts with a humble request. He politely asked if it might be possible to get the baseball they used during the first pitch signed by Ohtani after the game. During the conversation, Kihara casually admitted something else. He mentioned that he was slightly disappointed he hadn't been able to watch Ohtani's catch warm-up before the game began. It wasn't a complaint. It wasn't a request. It was simply an honest comment spoken in passing, the kind of small remark most people forget within seconds. But Dave Roberts remembered it. And when he later relayed the story to Ohtani, something unexpected happened. Ohtani didn't simply agree to sign the baseball. Instead, he quietly began preparing something extra. By the time Miura and Kihara were escorted into the VIP room after the Dodgers' victory, they believed the meeting would be short and formal. They expected a quick greeting, a signed baseball, maybe a handshake, and then everyone would move on with their night. What they did not realize was that Ohtani had been thinking carefully about that tiny comment ever since Roberts told him about it. The moment Ohtani entered the room, the atmosphere immediately changed. Despite being the biggest baseball star in the world and despite having just finished an exhausting MLB game, he greeted the pair politely with a respectful bow before accepting the baseball from Kihara. There was no celebrity arrogance, no rushed energy, no sense that he wanted the meeting to end quickly. Instead, Ohtani treated the moment with genuine care. He apologized for not being able to watch their ceremonial first pitch in person because of his pregame preparation routine, but quickly added that Roberts had told him all about it. Then he said something that instantly surprised both skaters. He specifically mentioned the lift. Ohtani explained that performing a lift while throwing a baseball could not have been easy, and said it must have left a huge impression on everyone inside the stadium. That detail mattered, because it proved Ohtani had truly listened. He had not simply heard a summary of the ceremony. He remembered the technical aspect of their performance itself. He understood the difficulty involved. For athletes like Miura and Kihara, that level of attention meant everything. Ohtani then signed the baseball carefully while continuing the conversation naturally. For a moment, it seemed like the perfect ending to an unforgettable evening. And then everything changed. As the conversation appeared to wrap up, Ohtani suddenly reached for an envelope sitting nearby. Without making a dramatic announcement, he quietly handed it to the pair. "Next time," he said softly, "if you have time, come a little earlier." Miura and Kihara looked confused. At first, they didn't understand what he meant. Then they opened the envelope. Inside were two special invitation tickets allowing them access to Dodger Stadium before standard entry hours. The tickets would allow them to watch batting practice, warm-ups, bullpen sessions, and most importantly, Ohtani's pregame catch routine from close range. But there was something unusual about the tickets. There was no date written anywhere. Miura stared at them in confusion before asking if the tickets were incomplete. Ohtani smiled and calmly explained. "These tickets are for whenever you want to come back," he told them. "Whenever your schedule allows, you don't need to rush." He continued by saying he wanted them to experience a baseball game not as special guests under pressure, but simply as ordinary fans enjoying the atmosphere from beginning to end. The room fell silent. What started as a routine celebrity meeting suddenly became deeply emotional. Because in that moment, Miura and Kihara realized something extraordinary. Ohtani had remembered the tiny disappointment Kihara casually mentioned hours earlier. Not only had he remembered it, he had quietly created a way to fix it, and he had done it without being asked. The gesture completely overwhelmed both skaters. After leaving the VIP room, Miura and Kihara immediately described the envelope incident as the most unforgettable part of their entire day at Dodger Stadium. Speaking to Japanese media shortly afterward, Kihara admitted he had entered the room expecting nothing more than an autograph. "Honestly, I thought getting the signed baseball alone would already be enough," he said. He explained that everyone involved had seemed busy and exhausted. The skaters had just finished the first pitch ceremony. Ohtani had just completed another intense MLB game in the middle of a packed season schedule. "Everything felt rushed," Kihara admitted. "So when he signed the ball, I already felt completely satisfied." But then he paused and smiled. What shocked me was that he remembered that small comment. Kihara explained that while talking with Roberts earlier, he casually mentioned feeling disappointed about missing Ohtani's warm-up session. He insisted it was never intended as a request. "I wasn't asking for anything," he said. "It was just a passing comment." That's what made Ohtani's response so emotional. In situations like that, most people hear those comments and simply move on, Kihara explained. Especially professional athletes during a season, they have too much on their minds. But Ohtani remembered. And not only did he remember, he prepared something. Kihara revealed that both he and Miura froze the moment they realized the tickets had no date attached. "We genuinely stopped moving for a few seconds," he admitted with a laugh. "We thought the tickets were for a specific game." Miura herself became so confused, she immediately asked Ohtani if the blank date section was intentional. According to Kihara, Ohtani simply smiled and reassured them that they could return whenever they wanted. "He told us there was no need to hurry," Kihara said. "He said we should come back when we truly had time and enjoy everything properly." Then Kihara shared the moment that affected him most emotionally. He said he wanted us to watch the entire warm-up from start to finish. For Kihara, that sentence stayed in his mind long after the meeting ended, because it showed that Ohtani had not only heard the original comment, he understood exactly why it mattered. As news of the encounter spread across sports media, analysts began discussing why such a simple gesture resonated so deeply with fans around the world. Many pointed out that the actual tickets themselves were not the important part. Any MLB organization could provide special access passes. The real meaning came from Ohtani's attention to detail. After all, he had just finished an emotionally and physically exhausting baseball game. Most athletes in that situation would sign the ball quickly, shake hands, and move on to recovery or media obligations. Instead, Ohtani chose to stop and care about something small. Sports commentators later described the moment as a perfect example of the Japanese concept of omotenashi, genuine hospitality, and thoughtful consideration for others. Ohtani never turned the gesture into a public performance. He did not make a speech. He did not present an extravagant gift for cameras. Instead, he quietly solved a small disappointment in the most personal way possible. And strangely enough, that may have revealed more about Shohei Ohtani's character than any statistic ever could. Because greatness is not only measured in home runs, strikeouts, or championship victories. Sometimes greatness appears in the quietest moments. A casual conversation, a remembered detail, an envelope with no date written on it, and the decision to make two visiting athletes feel valued long after the game itself was already over.